All right, so today's lecture is going to be on the respiratory system. First of all, so sorry for class not being on time. It's just my Wi-Fi was not working for like the longest time and it's finally back up. So yeah, so right now it's the respiratory system. So we're first going to talk about tracheal systems in insects. So basically, insects have a network of air tubes throughout the body, and the tracheas are connected to openings which allow gas exchange. And then gas flows from the trachea to the tracheal, which transports it to a cell. And there's a diagram on the bottom right side. Next, we're going to be talking about mammalian systems. So this is basically ourselves. So first we have a nose, which is where air enters our body and is filtered. Technically, we can also breathe through the mouth, but for now, we're just going to talk about the nose. And then it passes through to the larynx, which moves the epiglottis to cover the trachea when eating food. Otherwise, it's going to remain open. So basically, this right here is just to prevent like food from entering the trachea, because it's supposed to enter the esophagus instead. So the trachea is just a windpipe, and then the bronchi are two pipes, which each lead to a lung. And obviously, we have two lungs. The bronchioles are finer tubes, which are branched from the bronchi, and they lead to alveoli, which are air sacs at the tips of the bronchioles. And oxygen diffuses out of the alveoli into the airspace of the lung. So basically, all of the gas exchange occurs at these alveoli, which are just extremely tiny sacs. And the thing about these alveoli is that they have a very high surface area, which means that they can perform gas exchange at a very quick rate, as opposed to something which has a greater volume. Carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveoli to be breathed out, and white blood cells protect the alveoli from intaking too many harmful materials. So next we're going to talk about breathing. So amphibians have a positive pressure breathing, which is inflating lungs with forced airflow. Birds, on the other hand, do gas exchange at the parabronchi. So the diagram at the right basically just shows the two cycles of inhalation, exhalation, which are required for one breath. So the first inhale will fill the posterior air sacs, and then the first exhalation will cause the posterior air sacs to contract, pushing air into the lungs. And then the next inhalation will cause air to pass through the lungs and fills the anterior air sacs. And then the second exhalation will cause the air that entered the body in the first inhalation to be pushed out. And the diagram just helps with understanding that. So mammals, on the other hand, use negative pressure breathing, which is pulling air in. So reduced air pressure inside the lungs causes air to travel from the nose and mouth to the lungs. The diaphragm is a skeletal muscle which moves below your lungs, which moves down when inhaling and then moves up when exhaling. The respiratory pigments will allow proteins, they're proteins which allow more oxygen to be carried in the blood. And to control the breathing. So basically, here's the equation which we use for this. It's CO2 plus H2O, and that arrow means equilibrium, with H2CO3, and that's equilibrium with HCO3 plus H+. So we're going to have a normal blood pH, which is about 7.4. So in case the blood pH decreases because of increased CO2, then sensors in blood vessels will detect that decrease in blood pH, or it will be the medulla. And then the medulla receives signals from major blood vessels, which will cause rib muscles and diaphragm to increase rate and depth of ventilation. And then the blood CO2 level will decrease and pH will go back up. All right, any questions? If you have any questions, just put it down in like the chat or something, as in like on Discord. All right, thank you so much.